the country is actually quite nice and warm and sunny.
Yeah, that's good to know. I heard you had some floods the
Yep,
last, right? Yeah,
we did.
that's terrible. Okay, we had really rough weather either here in Switzerland, but luckily no floods. Cool. Everyone, we will be joining in about a moment, but still free, let us know where you're joining from. We have the chat for that. And with that, let me slowly wind music down. And and good morning. I guess good morning for most of us, but just in case, good afternoon to whoever is connected from Asia. This is one of the very special sessions today with Eli and Radek from CPR, Checkpoint Research. We want to talk about malware, and we have a very exciting story about moniker back and discovery of that and implications and everything else. The session is being
Recording in
recorded.
progress.
As you hear, the session is being recorded. In case you need to jump off, you will be able to access the recording. We will post the slides and the recording on Checkmates later on, so we will share everything. Some notes for the process. Please do use Q&A panel and not the chat for all your questions. It's very important. We want to capture all your questions in case we want to address something offline later on. Feel free to ask questions anytime. We're here to help you out and answer them. With this, Annie, take the stage, please.
Okay, happily. Hello, everyone. So my name is Elis Manja. I'm the research group manager at CPR. Together with me is Radek, who is our vulnerability team leader. I will present vulnerability research that or vulnerability that we have found in Microsoft that was found by our researcher Haifi Lee, which unfortunately will not be with us today. So let's start. Let me share. Okay, can you see it okay?
Yes, we do. Go on.
Okay, so as I said, we will present today the risk of the moniker link bug in Microsoft Outlook, and we will talk about some big picture, meaning that some details that we have not covered in our publication, which Microsoft obviously aware of, but again, we have not published, so it will be kind of new to anyone that might read this blog before. So we will talk about the research motivation, basically what the bug is, what is the impact of the bug, and as I said, the big picture behind it, and of course, how Checkpoint protect. So let's start a little bit with the research motivation. At the beginning of the year, we published a blog called The Obvious, the Normal, the Advanced. The blog presents an understanding of the attack vector existing on Outlook and rank them according to severity and ease of execution. As you know, probably Outlook is a well-known and common attack vector, and our goal was to check the attack surface and check whether, despite the many defenses, there is still a possibility of vulnerability in Outlook. So let's talk about the hyperlink behavior on Outlook. First of all, I don't think I need to explain, but just to make sure what hyperlink is. Basically, it's a link exactly as you see at the bottom of the presentation, the link to Wikipedia. If I click on it, it will open a Wikipedia site. So the same can be on Outlook. And you can read here, this is a definition from Wikipedia, what hyperlink is, but mainly it's a link. So Let's discuss the hyperlink behavior on Outlook, meaning in the body of the message there is a link and you click on it for some reason. So the first scenario, if the hyperlink starts with HTTP or HTTPS, as we know it's a web link, Outlook will happily start the default browser on Windows and open the web URL. No problems, no protection against that, other than it opens your default browser, which is obviously okay, other than the case that the browser is not updated and the risk can come from the browser, but this is definitely not Outlook or Microsoft problem. But okay, the HTTP, the web links are obvious. We all know about them, but why? What about some other protocols other than the HTTP, HTTPS? For example, the Skype URL protocol, as the following in the HTML email, as you can see on the screen. Here, Microsoft does warn you that if you open the location, it may be unsafe, but still allows you to open it if the user thinks it's safe and he trusts the source. Okay, so we have talked about web links and application links, but what about the most interesting one, to our opinion, the file link? Let's check with the common file protocol. In this case, we are trying to get a file from a remote server. And we first tested the following using the protocol to point to a remote Word file. In this case, as you can see on the screen, it's an RTF, a rich text format, but it's pretty much equivalent because eventually it will be handled by Office Word. When we click on the hyperlink, there was no warning dialog like in the previous Skype URL protocol. However, an error message was displayed to the user in the Windows Notification Center, and the remote test RTF file was indeed not accessed. Outlook prevents you from doing this operation and for good reason. Okay, so we have discussed hyperlink behavior in different Outlook scenarios and learned the behavior of the hyperlinks. And as we said, we try to find a way to bypass Outlook restrictions. This was the goal of our research. So what bug did we find? A little bit and a very short and simple background before, just again, to make sure that we all on the same page. The bug was found on a technology called COM objects or OLE. A simple explanation of it. OLE is a technology created by Microsoft that allows different software components to talk to each other and work together. A moniker, and this is why we call the blog the moniker link bug, because this was the source of the bug, is a way of identifying and working with objects. Think of it as a unique name or identifier used to locate and access a specific COM object. And I will give an example to make it a little bit clearer. Eventually, for example, if you get in a message on Outlook and attach to it some Excel file, and Outlook gives you the options to open it, to save it, or to preview, and you select preview. Outlook obviously don't know how to handle Excel files. So he uses this technology, the COM objects, to communicate with the Excel application, and the Excel application will do the work for him, means open the file, read it, and display whatever you ask to be displayed. It can be some cell, it can be some sheet, or whatever. So meaning it's just a way for application to communicate and to do some tasks together. So let's come back to the last example where Outlook gives us an error when using the link for file. If you remember, Outlook prevents us from doing that. But what if we make a slight modification to the above link? For example, to the following. I will give you a second to see if you can see anything weird in this link. But note that we added an exclamation mark at the end of the test RTF and also added some random characters, in this case, something. Such a link will bypass the previously discussed existing Outlook security restriction, and Outlook will continue to access the remote resource some IP test RTF file. In other words, the attacker bypassed the security restrictions and allow Outlook to communicate with an attacker control server. And this was our first bug that we found. Basically, we were able to bypass the restrictions of Outlook, and we are able to communicate with a remote server that is controlled by an attacker and to try to call to some file. But what is the impact of the bug? So, as I said, we allow Outlook to communicate using SMB to the attacker control remote server, which in this case, the bug is that it's leaking the NTLM hash, the NTLM credentials to the attacker, as you can see in the picture. Obviously, we all know what an attacker can do with an NTLM hash. He can use it to connect to remote Windows services in the organization, or he can crack the hash and get the user password. This is indeed a serious security issue, and this was the first bug that we have found. Of course, we were very happy that we found our worst vulnerability in Outlook, because again, this was our goal eventually. And now that we have found the bug, we decided to report that to Microsoft to fix the issue and plan to publish our findings. But it was not enough to us, for us. We knew that this happened because of some vulnerability in the COM object, which we didn't fully understand. And to be honest, till today, we not aware of the full picture of the vulnerability. I'm guessing in Microsoft, they know much more than us. But we did understand that this is in the COM object, and we really wanted to know if we could find something more severe than just leaking the NTLM hash, which is severe by itself, but not enough. So could it do more? So in order to show if it can do more, let me present a video that demonstrates the first vector of the attack and what we have found, what else we have found. Okay, for some reason the video is not running. I will try to scroll it using the, yeah, it's stuck. Okay, I will scroll it using the mouse. Okay, so the first thing you can see, the victim is open an Outlook, and he has some link that for some reason he decided to click. And sorry, the video is not running, so I'm scrolling it using the mouse. Okay, and then after the user clicked the link, we open the Wireshark, and we can see the communication with the attacker control server via port 445, which is an SMB protocol, and the victim user also leaked to the attacker control server, as you can see in this case, Hi-Fi, which is the researcher, and also if we dig down into the packet data, we will see that also the NTLM credentials leaked as well. So this was the first bug that we found. Here you can see the NTLM credentials. And as I said, we wanted to understand if there is more. So continue with the video. If you pay attention, the request also create request to a file called crash RTF that is located on the remote server, meaning that there is an SMB request to the file, and basically Outlook is able to communicate and open the file. Now, here you can see the file on the server of the attacker. And now let's press the link once again and open a WinDBG in the background so we can see the actions behind the scenes. We can see that the application of Word is opened, because obviously Outlook calls some file that Word needs to handle, because Outlook don't know how to handle this file using the COM object. And you can see that Word is reading and opening the file on the computer, behind the scenes, nothing that the user is aware of, and most probably most of the security protection product will not do anything to that, especially if think of in case that the Office has some vulnerability, the Office Word has some vulnerability. So what basically we have found here? So other than the NTLM hash, we realized that because the small modification that we have done in the Outlook thinks that it's not just some file, some share to some file that you are trying to approach in the obviously block set. It thinks it's a COM object because of the exclamation mark. And he basically allows the SMB communication, but he also tries to handle the object using the Word application. Meaning if we are sending a malicious file or hosting a malicious files in the remote attacker server and calling it, and the Word will parse it for us behind the scenes, we can run a remote code on the computer and basically gain control to the computer. Now, this was very interesting for us because we understand that it's a very serious issue, because we basically found a way to create through an Outlook link to create a remote code execution. Obviously, you will say, okay, but if Word, the Office Word will not be vulnerable, it will be up to date, and there is no new vulnerability that we are aware of to Office Word, it's correct, but a COM object is being used by many other, hundreds of other applications, not just Office Word. We just given an example. So it's open a wide area of exploration for the attacker to check other applications that are using COM objects and can be potentially vulnerable, and it can run malicious code or exploit a malicious code on your station just through clicking on an Outlook link. Not just that, think of a case that your organization is not so aware of security, let's say it like that, and your Office application like Excel or Word or something else is not up to date, and the attacker is using a one-day vulnerability, and basically it will be able to run and exploit the code on your computer just by clicking the Outlook, a link on Outlook. So this was the second bug that we have found, and we realized that it's a very severe bug, because it's open a new, not just a vulnerability, but it's basically open a new attack vector. Because now the attacker can basically choose which application is vulnerable that uses COM, and basically he can target it and use it to exploit code on your machine. But there is an even bigger picture than what we described, because eventually we understand that the vulnerability, it's in the COM, and it's not a problem of just Outlook. But before I present the big picture, let's discuss a little bit about the defense and mitigation. We confirmed this moniker link bug attack vector on the latest Windows 10 and 11 and Microsoft 365 environments. Other Office edition versions were likely affected too. And this is very important to say that we believe this issue has been overlooked in the Windows COM ecosystem for decades, since it lies at the core of the COM API, meaning more than 20 years that these vulnerabilities exist all over the Windows machine. We have reported, of course, the issue to Microsoft Security Response Center. They've released a critical security update for the Outlook on February 24 with the CVE 21413 with a very high score of 9.8, because I think you understand now that the problem is not just the NTLM leak hash, which it's severe but not so severe, but also the fact that it's open a complete new attack vector. So this is why Microsoft, and I believe they know some stuff that we still don't know, that could impact, give it such a high score of 9.8, which I think it's the highest other than 10, but it's very close. So You probably know that COM objects, I said it, but you're probably familiar with that, exist in almost any Windows application, and the bug is in the COM ecosystem. So what if we can use the bug on other application other than Outlook? And this is the big picture that we wanted to test, because we said, okay, if it's in the COM object, so we are not limited only to Outlook. So I will show a video that explains it, and I describe what we are seeing during the video. So basically, we decided to take an Excel file, and as you will see in a minute, we decided to embed inside the Excel file the malicious link that we have talked about till now, the one that points to the file that sits on a remote server controlled by the attacker. As you can see it right now. Here is the link, the file, some attacker server, test.doc, and the explanation mark and something. And the test.doc is supposed to be a malicious file, the one that can exploit Office Word. And let's now just run the Excel file and try to open it. And let's, on the background, open the task manager so we can monitor the processes that currently open in the system. And we can see while the Excel is running, you already open the Word application. And as I said, we are trying to communicate with a malicious file that sits on the remote server of the attacker. Let's open the event viewer to see what happened on the computer. And you can see that the Word application has crashed. It's crashed because we use the malicious file. In this case, it does not execute anything other than crashing the application, but potentially we can exploit code in it. And you can see that, and you can see that the Excel file, the Excel program still running and still try to open without any user interaction. The exploit work behind the scenes. And in a minute, the Excel will finish open, and you can see here you can see the link that we embedded inside the Excel itself, meaning that there is no need even to user interaction. We just find a way to embed the link inside the Excel. The user just need to open the Excel, and the Excel will communicate with the remote file. As I said, using the COM object will interact with the Office Word application on your computer, and if it's exploitable because of some vulnerability, it will run on the computer. So what happened was Excel ran and the user did not click anything, but Word app was running behind the scenes and exploited by some malicious RTF file or doc file and create some remote code execution. This means that Outlook, Excel, and probably other application using COM objects are vulnerable to this issue. We have tested only Excel and Outlook, and actually we've tested also PowerPoint, and it works as well, meaning that we are dealing here with a very wide attack vector that we should all worry about, because it opens endless possibilities for attacker to manipulate files and to execute code on our computer. Okay, so to summary, we disclosed a significant security issue in Outlook, dubbed the moniker link bug. The bug allows the leaking of the local NTLM information, remote code execution, and more as an attacker vector. It can, I have not talked about it, but it can also bypass the Office protected view when it used as an attack vector to target other Office applications. If you know, when you try to open something in Outlook, it says that it's in a protected view, and if you allow Outlook to present or display the file or do something with the file, so when you are using this link, Outlook does not, again, gives you any warning or something like that. With our in-depth research, we've also found that this moniker link bug attack, we see it as attack vector more than just some bug, specific bug, exists not only in Microsoft Outlook, but also in and affects other softwares that not necessarily Microsoft apps. Regarding to checkpoint protections, obviously we created protections much before our publication. Since we understand that there is some vulnerability, we started to build protections for it. We used a variety of our blades and products, like the email security, like anti-exploit, like the IPS, the endpoint. And Checkpoint Research continue to monitor the activity for potential attacks, exploiting this bug, attack vector in the wild through our telemetry data. Till now, we have not seen someone using it, not on our clients at least. We know that on the internet, there are some Gits with POC, how you can create this bug yourself. And I'm sure that penetration testers all over the world are using that, but we have not seen a real attacker using that yet. And I think it's good. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Eli. That was short and to the point. If you can stop sharing, well, let's bring our panelist back in the gallery view. Okay, fantastic. Before we go to the questions from the Q&A panel, I have a couple of my own. You said that the vulnerability existed for about a decade or more. Did I hear it right?
Yes.
In the past, did we see any attacks using this vector?
No, this is the first time that we've seen such an attack. We've not seen anything similar to that. There are of course manipulation and there are some vulnerabilities in COM, but not something like that. Not this is.
Oh, from where I stand, it's mind-blowing. There is a critical vulnerability in the Microsoft code that sits there for many years, and by chance we discovered it before
It's really
the
by
malicious
chance,
actors, right? Did the Microsoft fix it yet?
Yes, so of course we are not publishing anything without making sure that the third party that we are reporting on is fixed. So obviously Microsoft fixed and gave it a Tuesday patch Tuesday patch, and we have tested the patch and it's worked well. But on the other, the big picture that I've described, when we basically understand that it's not just on Outlook, it's basically every application that uses COM, we reported that to Microsoft and they said they fixed it. We have not seen a publication of the fix, but I know that Microsoft took care of it. And as I said, we have not yet seen use of it in the wild, even though I have to say it's a very, very simple attack to create. I mean, all you need is a server with some malicious file. You know, creating this link, obviously, it's not hard. And to create some phishing email to convince the user to press the link or to download some Excel file, as you can see, it can do it just by running. It's very easy to do, but we have not seen it in the wild by an attacker yet.
I see. Thank you very much. Before the fix, did this vulnerability exist in Outlook 365 or in Office 365?
It's as I said, this bug exists for years. Till we report, the bug exist, but I cannot tell if it's been used in the wild or not. This is something that we have not found.
Wow. Really, really scary and but with a positive outcome. Great. I saw some raised hands. Guys, if you have any questions, please do use Q&A panel for that matter. And for now, if you are still planning to ask a question, we'll give you another moment. And if not, we'll be happy to close the session and give you half an hour back for other things, for discovering other bugs and vulnerabilities. So, any questions? If you are still typing in, now is the time to raise a hand so we know we want to stay on the session. Okay, no questions. Eli, thank you very much. This was Really, really
Questions?
interesting. Thanks a lot for sharing the story, and Radek, thanks for supporting us.
Okay.
Everyone, stay safe, stay secure, and we will be happy to see you in other Checkmate sessions. We have all kind of other interesting stories for you as well. Thanks and goodbye, and see you around.
Bye.
Record.